Today, I've come to Stonegate to speak with Dan Clark, their Head of Marketing, to discuss the Innovation Hub, technology and training. Thank you for taking the time out of your day today to speak with us, Dan. How long have you been in the industry for and what got you into it?
So not too long, about 4 years now, in working with surface materials. I'd say the thing that attracted me to it was the element of, obviously, I work within marketing and I like to reach out to the B2B industry, but I like the fact that there's something being created here and we can help the tradesmen create great finished projects.
So was Stonegate your first entry into the stone industry, or was there a company before that?
So I actually worked within solid surface before then, specifically materials like Corian. So I got a very good handle on kind of kitchen trends and ways of working and fabrication, even though it's slightly different. So it gave me a different perspective into the industry.
Training in the industry is really important, especially to close the skills gap. What are you doing differently to encourage people into it?
So over the last few years, since way before I even joined Stonegate, we've been getting feedback from the fabricators that they kind of want help and assistance from us in order to help them get the maximum out of their tools. But what we also understood from that is that they needed assistance, understanding the machines and the materials too. And often in a busy environment where you're doing worktop after worktop and then you're tidying up, you're getting them out, you're installing the projects, they don't have time to address that. So we understood pretty early on that we could offer value in terms of training, support and advice, which we've been doing for a number of years. This is why we introduced our technical team around about 5 years ago. We started building that. So we have a team of 5 now, trained technicians with fabrication experience in workshops. And now what we're looking to do is sort of formalise that a bit more. So we're offering training schemes here at our Innovation Hub, which is a live functioning test workshop, where fabricators can send their team members and attend themselves, so they can work in an isolated, uninterrupted environment and receive the training that they need to be able to deliver the best that they can on every project.
Do you think there's anything more that other people or other companies can do to sort of entice people into the stone industry?
As you know, the stone industry is quite a niche industry and we all know each other very well. There isn't vast masses of untapped resource that we're not aware of. So I know that other tooling suppliers, solutions providers and fabricators are all working hard to attract talent within the industry. I think a key thing of doing that is working together, is having an open dialogue between everyone, whether they might be seen as competitors or not, is to understand how we can keep progressing the industry and making it healthier going forward. So it's what we're hoping to do with our open days is it's an open invite to everyone so we can knowledge share and look at improvements that can be made to entice the next generation of stone talent into the industry. It's a long and tricky road, as everyone within construction is finding, but hopefully bit by bit, incrementally, we'll start making those differences, all of us as a team, and we'll see that next generation appear.
Do you think things like the WFF, so the Worktop Fabricators Federation, are there to help bridge that gap, obviously bringing together competitors so that you can then share your ideas?
Yeah, I think what the WFF are doing and continuing to strive to do is to bring everyone together. That's fundamentally what they do. And like you say, build those bridges between people who might not otherwise be having those conversations on what we need to do to continue the long, proud tradition of, the stone industry within the UK, to take that forward to the next level. so we don't lose it because it is a craft. So I think what the WFF has done is very important, but also what everyone is doing. Like I say, suppliers and solutions providers are working hard to create training schemes and develop individuals so we can get to the next stage.
Do you think there should be more done to get people involved in the stone industry from a younger age? I know we've spoken before about it being quite a family business, stonemasonry, things like that. But is there anything more that you think that people can be doing to get people that are younger interested in coming into the stone industry?
That's something that we've been looking to address and see whether that's a possibility. It's difficult because you can see at some points in workshops, it's not the nicest environment to work in. It's not a comfy office with air conditioning. It can be cold, it can be wet, it can be dirty, but it can be also super fulfilling, and it is a career. So that's something that we'd be looking to maybe shine more of a focus on and make it really an aspirational career for people rather than something that they want to just do for a couple of years to earn a few quid and then move on to something else.
Here at Stonegate, you've got varying ages in employment. How do you think Stonegate differ in their approach to recruitment within the industry?
I'd say that is a primary focus of ours, is to look at the next generation and to get them invested. That's where the difficulty comes, is getting younger people invested in something that might not be as glamorous or as interesting as other areas. What we try and do is show them the interesting side of it straight away, and it's so much easier now that we have our own workshop. So before we used to do a lot of product training, but it's difficult without seeing the tools on the machine, and seeing the end result is the absolute killer. So you can talk about a tool till you're blue in the face, but if you can see a brilliant finished polish shine on a worktop, then you know that what you are selling to the customer is doing what it says, and that gives so much more investment into it, and a pride in what you're doing and providing, and the authenticity in it as well. So that's what we try to do. We do weekly product training. We send every member of the team out, gets to go and visit fabricators and see it live in action, because even with our own workshop, there's nothing like going on site, as you'll know. And just to really try and generate that excitement and build that passion. Of course, you have to be invested in it in the first place, and that's part of the recruitment process. You have to be of that mind. But this is what we look to try and do, and sort of build and generate that thirst, that desire for knowledge and improvement and innovation.
So you've mentioned it a couple of times. How long has the Innovation Hub been open for?
So we opened the Innovation Hub in May last year, shortly after we moved into this premises. Before, we were just down the road, about 10 miles down the road, and our warehouse and offices were all separate. So there was less of the communal team spirit that we have now. Shortly after we moved in, we put in our CNC and our edge polisher, and we began inviting customers and material suppliers to come in and see some testing and undergo training for themselves. So it's been over a year now. We've had quite a few customers in. We've had some great feedback. We've learned a lot, which is really important for us. And we've been able to kind of really push our new product development process on. It's a lot quicker than it was. So we're bringing innovative solutions to the market a lot quicker than we were able to before.
So the main points for the Innovation Hub then would be training on actual fabrication and then testing of materials, is that right?
Yes, so there's a few kind of aspects to it. One thing that the forefront of what we want to do is offer that fabricator training to try and bridge that skills gap, and to give fabricators more trust in the tooling that they're using and the parameters that they can run it at. And also so that they're comfortable with the material that they're machining. There can be a lot of preconceptions about certain different types of material and how it needs to be fabricated and whether it's difficult or not. Let's just say every material on the market out there is easy enough to fabricate if you're using the right tools and running it the right way. So that's what we're looking to do. And then we also are doing a lot of material testing with the suppliers of the material, so we can understand those parameters. We can't give that information out to fabricators unless we do that, and even, you know, different materials in a range from the same supplier will vary in how you work it. So we're working closely with them to understand that. It also helps them to understand it. So when they're selling the material to their fabricators, they've got confidence saying that yes, you can do this. Whether it be a tool from Stonegate or a tool from somebody else, it can be done as long as you run it in this particular way. So it helps them. And then finally, like I say, a big thing for us has been the new product, well, new and existing product development. So we are constantly running tests on our saw or our CNC, trying to understand the optimum parameters for our tooling and what improvements can be made, so we can go back and feed back to the manufacturers and deliver a better solution for the customers.
So you've said that you've had quite a few customers through the door. Can I ask how many we've managed to get through the Innovation Hub so far?
So we've had almost 40 different customers, different fabricators come through the doors. Often 2 or 3 will come up at the same time to maximise their visit. And we also had our very first open day in February of this year, in which we had almost 100 different fabricators attend for the day. So there's certainly a growing interest in it. We have a lot of people booked in to come and visit, and we'll also be running our second open day in October this year, where we'll be hoping to offer up even more sort of informative experiences and demonstrations for fabricators. So yeah, the doors are open, and they're pretty busy, and the technical guys are pretty busy showing our fabricators everything that they can. So yeah, we're pleased with how it's gone so far.
So with the materials testing that you've been doing, which major brands is it that you've got on board, or that you've been testing the most materials of?
We've had a lot of material suppliers in. I'd say more along the porcelain and UCS side, the suppliers there are quite keen to come in. As I say, there is a preconception it can be more difficult to fabricate than, you know, natural stone or engineered stone. This isn't the case. You just have to fabricate it differently, use a different set of tooling. We have a dedicated range of porcelain and UCS tooling. So they're quite interested to come in, and I think we've helped give them more confidence in their product as well, because we've shown them the end result that they can achieve with it. So we've had a range of different material suppliers in. We were doing some testing with the Marble and Granite Centre on Lapitec the other day. We've had the guys from Laminu in, Neolith, you know, lots of different material suppliers. I can't remember them all at the minute, so unfortunately they won't all get a shout out. But that seems to be a primary focus at the minute, is just busting that myth that porcelain is difficult to fabricate. So I think we're helping them to achieve that at the minute.
It's very much a case of trying to educate people as to best practice, as opposed to everything's just cut the same then, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And that then has its end benefits as well, because if you're using the right tools and running them at the right parameters, you'll be getting the best results. So you're not having to go back and hand finish anything, or you're not having to go on to site and make some adjustments then, because, you know, you're a couple of mil out somewhere on something. So it really does help them save time, and it saves money, and I think that's what we're working towards. And it's, you know, it's not just things about the particular tooling that we can help develop the industry on. Also, obviously, there's a lot of talk about engineered stone at the minute, and it's still a huge part of the UK market. And what we're keen to do is help people understand that you can fabricate engineered stone safely, provided you have the right health and safety practices in place. So that's a key thing that we can help inform people on.
How has the advancements in technology over sort of the last 5-10 years helped to improve efficiency?
What I would say is that there's been improvements, kind of incremental improvements in tooling and the understanding of the parameters, as I mentioned before. What this enables the tools to do is run quicker, run more accurately. There is less wastage. You're having to do a job fewer times. So businesses are becoming more efficient each worktop is spending less time on the machine, so they're able to take on more work if they need to, with better results and not having to go back and finish it again. So they're saving time, and time equals money, obviously. So I think this is just helping everyone to kind of audit their processes and become more efficient and more profitable.
So following on from that, do you think that the changes that we're seeing with technology is meaning that there could well be a more diverse workforce?
I hope so. I think we are seeing a small sea change. I think, things like women in natural stone, and seeing the way that that's grown over the last year is really encouraging for an increase in diversity within the industry. It is a very traditional industry, but there are a lot of individuals within it who want to push that forward and open it up. So whether that be people in marginalised backgrounds, something like introducing a more formal training in engineering college might help to appeal to a wider demographic. That's something we'd love to see, because as you mentioned before, it is quite often that if you're from a family of stonemasons, you tend to work within the industry, whereas there's so much opportunity. And it can be interesting on a number of levels. You can go from the very sort of hand tooling, fine artisanry stonemasonry to all the way to running the CNC and robot saws and things like that. So whatever your interest as a young individual looking to find a career, there's probably something within the stone industry that can appeal to you.
So Stonegate have recently expanded the brands that they represent with the acquisition of Stone Equipment International. Does this give you more scope for brands to utilise within the Innovation Hub?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very excited with the recent acquisition of Stone Equipment International, and particularly the Marmo Mechanica agency in the UK, which we'll be taking on for the next few years. Knowing the industry like we do and our fabricators, we've always been really impressed with the Marmo Mechanica edge polisher machines. And we know that they can be a very useful addition and solution for a lot of our customers. Andy Bell at National Masonry, Stone Equipment International, did a fantastic job over a number of years of introducing these to the UK market and helping customers with their challenges. So we look forward to taking that on and continuing the good work, but also, adding the additional Stonegate element to it, which is our, sales and customer support teams, just expand the reach of it a little bit. So we're looking forward to introducing more of these machines onto the UK market.
Are there plans for further development of the Innovation Hub? Will we see a second one maybe?
A second Innovation Hub would be great, and I'm sure for some of our London-based fabricators or people in the southwest, that would be a much more enticing prospect than heading up the A1 on a wet Tuesday morning. But at the minute, we just want to focus on what we've got here and about getting it really to function as efficiently as it can do, so we're delivering the maximum for our customers. But who's to say in the future that we won't be looking at adding an additional academy to our portfolio, and making it as accessible as possible for our fabricators to get the training that they need.
And finally, what has been your favourite part about working for Stonegate?
The favourite part about working for Stonegate would be getting to know the stone industry, and understanding the huge range of products and solutions that we've got. As a marketer, it's a dream. We have so many things that we can offer our customers, and it's more a case of, what don't you talk about rather than what can you talk about. So it's been great launching these products onto the market, seeing the great results that they're achieving, and getting to understand how our fabricators are using them and what challenges they might be facing in the future. So on the whole, just every day is a school day, so it's really exciting.
Thank you so much for your time today, Dan. Really appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us.
Thank you.